The Bo Nickel hype train looks like it has run its course. RIDDER from the Netherlands knocked out Bo Nickel last night in the UFC fight night. I called the fight live during our live event. RIDDER of the Netherlands was able to basically defend all of Bo Nickel's wrestling attempts, but the way he knocked Bo Nickel out was somewhat predictable. Not in so much because of RIDDER's skill set, but because I knew that Bo Nickel has flawed boxing skills. Not only that, but I knew he was destined to not become UFC champion, because when Bo Nickel was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he sang the praises of this absolute imposter of a boxing coach, a guy named Barry Robinson, he's branded himself as A Million Styles Boxing, which is a silly name to begin with, but let me unveil for you who this Barry Robinson charlatan is. I encountered Barry Robinson when I was training at Gleason's gym from the late 90s through the noughts all the way up to 2010. Except he'd long vanished from Gleason's gym before I moved from New York to LA in 2010. I'm guessing it was the noughts when Barry Robinson first entered Gleason's gym. His sister is a woman named Bernadette Robinson. And for those of you who go way back, she was known as the boxing queen of MySpace. Yes, we are dating ourselves. Bernadette was training at Gleason's gym with a Guyanese trainer named Dylan Carew. Dylan was a former elite amateur and also a professional fighter. You've probably never heard of him, but he is a skilled boxer, and he does know what he's talking about as far as boxing goes. So after Bernadette started training there, I guess Barry Robinson decided, if his sister can do it, he can do it. So he comes into Gleason's gym when it was still at 75 Front Street, and he announces, of course, that he's the next heavyweight champion of the world. As a cliche goes, I wish I had $1 for every time somebody said that when they walked into a boxing gym. But the thing is, Barry was a little more obnoxious about it than most of the other guys who do that. He was just so loud that I think most of us who were regulars in the gym found it a little bit annoying. Now, as karma would have it, Barry decides that, of course, he's going to enter the New York City Golden Gloves. He's a heavyweight, he has 0 fights, so he's in the novice division. The New York City Golden Gloves lasts from January through April, so most of us nobody goes to every single fight, especially during the preliminaries. So after Barry's fight night, I asked somebody else in the gym, hey, did you go to the fights? How did his fight go? And the way my friend described it to me was, well, the bell rang, I turned around for a moment, and then I heard a big boom, which meant Barry got knocked out. I mean, probably within the first 30 seconds of his amateur debut. And so then how did the rest of Barry's amateur career go? Well, that was it. That was the sum total of Robinson's boxing competition. He just never came back to it. Instead, he decided to, as they say, rebrand himself as a boxing coach. I believe he headed over to Thailand because I heard about him from a friend that I met in Wildcard Gym, that he'd encountered Barry Robinson in Thailand. Now, judging from what my friend told me about what went on in Thailand, Barry Robinson did not have a very good reputation. My friend informed me that he was supposedly training MMA fighters over in Thailand. At some point, Robinson makes his way back to the United States. He's now rebranded as a boxing coach for MMA fighters. Given that he's a big guy, right? He's a heavyweight and he's coordinated enough to hold mitts, I think he's able to bamboozle particularly grapplers who really have no clue about the striking game. Now, there's a real simple giveaway if you just look at Barry Robinson's Million Styles boxing videos. It's just absolute garbage. He's made this one instructional video about how to shadow box, and this guy is I don't know, idiotic. He's moving around shadow boxing, and he's like literally cursing at his pretend opponent. Like, that's actually not part of shadow boxing skill set. Robinson also tries to show us this evasive footwork. What he does is he bends over at the waist and starts walking backwards. Absolutely no boxing coach anywhere in any gym will ever ask their fighter to do that. Bottom line, trust me when I tell you Barry Robinson knows absolutely nothing about boxing. As the cliche goes, he can't even spell the word fight. I don't think he can even box oranges. But back to Bo Nickal. So the fact that Bo Nickal told Joe Rogan, "Oh, this guy is amazing. He's the greatest boxing coach, a million styles boxing." That right away showed me that there's something missing in Bo Nickal's mental makeup. Here's why. So supposedly Bo Nickal is this elite level wrestler. That would imply to me that he's been exposed to elite level wrestling coaches. Now, as a competitive judoka who did judo from childhood all the way through adulthood, I've encountered tons of judo coaches. And of course, there are some that are wonderful and know what they're talking about firsthand because they're former elite level competitors themselves. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to work with Sensei Hiroshi Nakamura out of Montreal, who's just one of the most amazing technicians, perhaps in the entire globe right now. And he's also a very insightful coach in terms of knowing how to motivate elite level judoka. He has more than a few mental tricks up his sleeve, and anybody who worked with him probably has more than a few funny anecdotes to tell about how Sensei Nakamura dealt with them at a particular turning point or just a moment in their judo career. By the same token, I've also worked with judo instructors or coaches who were not very sound technically, and maybe they were great people, or maybe they weren't so great technically, and they also weren't great people. So there's a whole spectrum of coaching. That's my point here. And so if Bo Nickal is truly this elite level wrestler from childhood, he should have been exposed to a spectrum of wrestling coaches, and he should be able to discern, right? He should have the eye of discernment at this stage of his competitive combat sport career. He should know how to evaluate the difference between a so-called coach who knows what they're talking about technically and a guy who's just completely full of garbage. So if Bo Nickal is completely lacking in this eye of discernment about coaching, what does that mean about his supposed wrestling career? Is that for real? Or has he just got this huge mental block where he can't accept the fact that he's a raw beginner in striking, and so he needs a really good striking coach, not a charlatan who's going to do circus tricks in front of him and then pat him on the back and tell him how wonderful he is. I feel that there's something so seriously lacking in Bo Nickal in terms of just his mindset that I predict that he will not become a UFC champion unless he has a real change of heart and a moment where he accepts the fact that he needs to completely rethink his approach to training and competing in MMA.